Well, here we are. Time now for the news review. We'll be joined shortly by political scientist and director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Ansah-Asante. But we'd love to hear from you in the course of the review. It's one of the ways we can know what you're thinking, what is percolating in your mind as well. So you can shoot us your thoughts on developing stories, and we'll be sure to share them. Yesterday, I noticed a lot of you were talking about the Supreme Court's ruling, and if you watched my interaction in the studio with the South Dine legislator, you would have noticed that he was also saying, listen, we just might, as a caucus, decide to go back to that issue of Kennedy Ejapong, Henry Quartey, and Sarah Adwoa Safo, who had missed 15 sessions in Parliament, and will follow through on that issue, which then means that if they trigger that process with a simple majority, they could oust those three. I mean, some say it is needless, but that's an option they could trigger. We also await seeing what reaction will come from Parliament. What are your thoughts on these matters? You can share them with us via our social media stream. Do we have Dr. Kwame Ansah-Asante now? All right, Doc?
Yes, my lord.
Oh, your lord, pa. This reminds me of the lieges and fiefdoms from, our studies from way back, political systems before political systems. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning, sir, and good morning, sweetie. Good morning to our cherished viewers.
Sweetie Abochi, would you like to?
Well, Doc, let's, as usual, get into your 2-minute take for us this morning. What's on your mind?
Right. Today, I want to take the opportunity to commend the Joy FM for a good work done towards this 13-year-old girl who's suffering from kidney problems. And I also want to take this opportunity and salute Ibrahim Mahama sincerely and others who really have contributed in numerous ways to save this girl. But it brings to sharp focus what our priorities are in this country. You get leaders who don't, think anything better for this country, but only to enrich themselves, only to deprive us of all that we need to survive when we have given them our mandate. Why am I saying this? If you look at this problem, this is not the first time we are seeing such problems. Once a while, you come across people who the media will parade on their screens begging for support to deal with one health problem or another. It tells you that we as a society, we are not serious. And we, the citizens, have glorified these ugly actions of government, and it has brought us this far. That people have to come out and then beg for support. Something that our state should be able to do for us, for Christ's sake, And here you are. We spend money on unnecessary things simply because we don't get our priorities right. We have spent so much on cathedral that we cannot find, about $400 million. We have spent money on
that is Ghana cedis, so it's $50-something million, over 400 and so million Ghana cedis, right?
We have spent money on Pualugu, which will be the game changer for us. Yet nothing can be found there, no evidence. What is so worrying that I was looking through a document from the United Nations, and I've forgotten the title of the document. They said we have corruption is taking 5 billion cedis was paid in the area of corruption in 2021, and it's about 1/4 of government budget for Ministry of Education. Are we a serious society? All right. If you put all these things together, money that we lose out through corruption, unnecessary, financing of projects that will not bring anything to us, and the rest of them, I'm sure we'll be able to build a first-class hospital in addition to what John Mahama did at Legon, and then we'll be able to take care of our people. Let us remember that, look, some of these things, when we do them and do them well, these are the things that really sustain patriotism and encourages everybody to work and work hard.
All right.
Going forward, I believe that we'll take a note from this and then make sure that we don't destroy businesses. We build businessmen so that in crisis situation like that, they come in handy to help us. I have seen with regret that you see effort by government to destroy businesses in this Fourth Republic. This must cease so that we can get the Ibrahim Mohammeds and others who come in when we need their services the most.
Thank you so much, Doc. The question that you asked is a question that we really should be asking our leaders. Are we a serious country? Well, let me start from the Daily Analyst. It says, without fear or favor, on the front page, vacant seats brouhaha, Supreme Court tames backbin. Speaker bound by Supreme Court decision, according to Atuguba. And Baumia grateful to Swami for warm reception. Government disburses over 51 million Ghana cedis, use that grant to beneficiaries. And EC disqualifies Roman father. Says he cannot replace Ikeadonko. But let's get into the stories. I'll start here. It says, Supreme Court tames backbin. The Speaker of Parliament's announcement that 4 parliamentary seats were vacant was declared illegal by the Supreme Court by a majority vote 5-2. The court upheld the application submitted by the majority leader of Parliament, Alexander Kwenyomakin. And at a brief sitting on Tuesday yesterday, the Chief Justice said the Speaker's declaration cannot hold. And the Chief Justice explained the reasons for the verdict, and it will be provided today, November 13th. So we look forward for that explanation. And then the former Supreme Court Judge, Justice William Atuguba, also says the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, is bound by the Supreme Court's recent ruling, which overturned his decision to declare for seat. Now, he noted that following the Supreme Court's decision, the 4 affected MPs are entitled to return to Parliament and participate in legislative proceedings. Quote, in the face of this decision, he is bound by the decision of the Supreme Court, unquote, he said in an exclusive interview with Joy News yesterday. EC disqualifies Roman father. According to the Electoral Commission, Atinka FM's Philip Apia-Kubi, also known as Roman father, cannot replace Ikeadonko as the Ghana Freedom Party's flag bearer. And according to the EC, Roman father's disqualification was due to some inconsistencies, and despite having adequate opportunity to remedy the abnormalities, the GFP failed to do so. So, addressing the media yesterday, Jean Mensah revealed that aspects of Roman father's papers were determined to be illegitimate under the nation's electoral regulations. Therefore, he is disqualified. I want to add one more story and then I'll come to you, Doc. Government disburses over 51 million Ghana cedis use that grant to beneficiaries. Government on Tuesday disbursed over 51 million Ghana cedis to beneficiaries as part of the Use Start program. And speaking at the ceremony, Chief of Staff, Madam Akosua-Afrima Osei Opare, advised beneficiaries of the Use Start program to use the grants to create jobs for the unemployed in the country. These 3 stories for your reflections, Doc.
Yes, I will start with the Supreme Court ruling, which we are waiting patiently because I can't wait to read the reasoning, and then we'll see what will come out. But it brings to sharp focus the need for us as a society to look at the Constitution and deal with some of the provisions in the form of what amendment. There is a particular provision which I can recall readily, but it talks about 3 months to elections. When seats are vacant in terms of death and then resignation on the part of MPs, we can't hold any by-election. We deny our people representation. All right. What are we going to do about that? We need to look at that provision because that provision is not fair relative to what representation function of the legislature, that the MPs represent the interests and aspirations of their people. And it doesn't matter the time. I think something must come in to be able to save the situation. And that provision and others, we need to look at them and look at them very well. We will also want to look at party loyalty and representation in Parliament and the rest of them. I'm waiting patiently to read the ruling then we can take lessons from it and build our society. But for me, it's a ruling that we welcome, even though I've not read. But these are the things that strengthen the frontiers of our democracy and make our democracy robust. I also look at the EC and the Roman Father in matters arising.
Yeah.
Right? Democracy hinges on rule of law. Without it, democracy crumples. And we want to believe that the Kwadonkos party, that today they are on the ballots, but we are not going to vote for them. Much education will go to the public so that it doesn't create problems for us. Because there are people who today have made up their minds that they will vote for that party. It doesn't matter what. How are we going to deal with that situation? If we get numbers there and come to R2, rejected ballots, and their consequence on election, pushing election, adding that one to the work of smaller parties, will it have impact on pushing the election to a second round and the rest of them? These are things we need to get them right and be able to know what to do. But apart from that, I believe that the EC have done their homework, and that if they disqualify you, they disqualify you. If you think otherwise, the name of the game is what? Law. Go to court, test the pulse of the court, and we'll get what? Reasoned judgment for you.
Doc, just a bit on the court system, because interestingly, I'm reading this story here about Trump judge delaying hush money decision, right? And it just struck me again, in different parts of the world, in the US, they are talking about, it's more like 6-3, the conservatives versus the liberals at the apex court, and who was appointed by whom. How do you think we can get past this bit about, this person is beholden to this other person who is in the executive because it is that person who appointed him or her? And one issue that comes to mind, the name just skips me. I don't know whether it's Bafo Boni. Was he the one who was on the 2012 petition?
Election petition.
Election petition. I think he was one of them, right? Justice Bafo
Yes,
Boni.
he was one of them.
Yes. He had been brought in by Kufuor. And if you recall, there was hue and cry about the fact that, Kufuor brought him in, but he was one of those who actually voted to what allowed former President Mahama to get that victory in the court at the time, majority decision. But others will also see that over time, there has been, and I know studies that have been conducted that point to the fact that depending on who appoints whom, those people who are appointed tend to lean in a certain direction. Even in the US, you see some of it. How do you think we can get past that in Ghana?
Two ways. It tells you that research is critical here. And I salute Professor Tuguba when he did his work. People look at them and rubbish the work. But I look at it and say, come on, this is a university professor, for crying out loud. And going out to do a study, empirical study, so that, scientific studies are universal truths that are verifiable. So if we're in doubt, you can also follow the methodology and see the results for yourself, all right? But we rubbish that work. But people like us still believe that that is what authentic. So it points to the fact that there is a problem in appointment and, of people into the apex courts and the work that they do that. If that is the case, and then one way of dealing with it is we can go the way of the US in some of the states, that we vote. Let us vote for judges. Because I sit down and think about it, and I said, wait a minute. In a democracy, right, everybody, all right, has the right to take part in the decision of their country. The cocoa seller, what is his role when we talk about the judiciary? He has no business. Meanwhile, the cocoa seller pays to, support those who sit on the bench, but he has no say. Give them a say. Because if politics is what divide them, I'll be comfortable when we have judges we have elected for them. And then when they give judgment, I know that, yes, I'll take it with a pinch of salt because he belongs to this party or another. That is one way. We can vote for them, and that if we don't want them at a point in that, in time will not renew their mandate. Very simple matter, all right? But there is a whole lot of legal debate about that. We can look at that. Another option is that cap the court and then make sure that the appointing authority is given to a different person other than the president. Then we can see who goes there. Even if the president will come in there, there is a whole lot of processes that it will go through, and in order to get a person in there. That is something I've been pondering over for a very long time. And then I also, some of these things I blame, portion part of the blame to our legislators. And that we get people are what? Nominated and then sent to Parliament for approval. People know their political leanings and all that, but they approve them only to come out and condemn them because they've given one judgment to favor one party or another.
You don't have the majority to conduct that vote. I do know that when they sit, usually there's some sort of parity, but then you have the chair of the vetting committee who will then have that overarching vote, and all of those come to bear. I wonder though whether people, for example, those who have wanted to be MP on Member of Parliament or play some role in some particular party should be allowed to go to the bench. Others say, why not? They are citizens and all of that. But does it create these unfortunate pictures? You remember that, I believe it was Justice Gayu in recent times, this very case, where there were rumors about, he had stood on the ticket of the MPP as this and that. But someone will also ask, why? Doesn't he have an option? And the fact that he's contested on the ticket or wanted to contest on the ticket of a party, does that mean he can't sit on a case and allow his conscience and the law to reign so that he'll make a decision? I mean, what do you think about those?
That is what we expect judges would do. But we have realized that from experience that sometimes events take a different turn and we have different results. So if that is the case, and we don't want politically exposed person to be on the bench, put it in the law so that from the word go, we don't get them nominated for them to get approval from Parliament for only to go and sit at the bench and take a decision. And the same legislator that approved them, some of them will criticize the judge. That becomes unfair. Because if you don't want them, look, bring out the law. A law says that if you are politically exposed, we don't want you at the apex court. That's a different one. But that one, you will also be caught by a provision of the court of the Constitution. We say discrimination should not be allowed in this country because of what? My political connection. You are, denying me the opportunity to serve at the highest court of the land. That is also. But, laws are made by human beings. So people can look around it and think, proffer something that will stand the test of time. But now, things we need to cap the courts and then make sure that, look, there's a certain number that will sit on all cases. U.S. Supreme Court has 9 judges, and they all sit at all times. So, until you resign or you die, that number will be there. So they sit, and then regimes, as they leave the bench, others will come in and all that. So a time comes, you realize that you have a very uniform type of bench that will stand the test of time. Otherwise, our noise about the courts and their political connection becomes unnecessary. If you don't want them, kick the law out, bring in a law that will prevent people who are politically exposed to sit at the bench.
Okay, thank you, Doc. Ben, let's get into your paper.
Well, a number of things I'm getting into as far as the Daily Guide is concerned. And I smell some mischief. I couldn't help but laugh, but I'm using mischief in jovial terms. If you look at the way the Speaker of Parliament is dressed, when he dressed like this and went to Parliament, you remember that Afenyo Markin said he was neither a king nor an emperor, and I think this is a way of this country. Anyway, pioneering petroleum hub project for economic growth, pictured there, President Akufo-Addo. EC disqualifies Roman Father Ekweadonko, remains on ballot, but the EC has said that it's not going to rejig or reshuffle the positioning, so it remains the same. Supreme Court overturns backbane, reinstates 4 MPs. Government gives 51.8 million Ghana cedis to GJSP beneficiaries. Over 18.7 million to vote on December the 7th. On the back page, Stars can beat Angola in Luanda. And I like it when we get to this point and we start making the permutations. I say lotto numbers, you know. And if this happens and Sudan loses the next 3 matches and we win and that happens and then we win by 3 goals, why don't you just do yourself a favor? And now Otoado is, he says Kudus shouldn't be the captain. Jordan Ayew should take over the arm band and all of that. I think there's too much disconnect, too much chaos in the team from the National Sports Authority, the Sports Ministry, and the Sports Minister, to be honest. Some of the things that have happened, I don't want to use certain unpalatable words. And the GFA itself, I think they have failed Ghana football. That's my opinion. Failed Ghana football, woefully. Ben Yedda's sentence for sexual assault. Goldfield's tennis tourney ends on high note. And player 22 dies after car crash. Ecuador and FC Cincinnati player Marco Angulo has died from his injuries sustained in a car crash that also killed his former youth teammate Roberto Cabezas, the Ecuadorian Football Association said on Tuesday. We commiserate with the teams and their families. But let me get into the stories. Since we've already looked at the Supreme Court issue, I want to look at the Equiadonko one. So the EC has disqualified Philip Atiakubi, popularly known as Roman Father, as the presidential candidate of the GFP following the death of Equiadonko. The chair of the EC, Jean Mensah, who announced this at an emergency meeting with representatives of the political parties yesterday in Accra, said the GFP's presidential candidate was disqualified following alleged irregularities and illegitimate information. You know why I reiterate this, Doc? I also want to find out, based on the laws we have, from time to time, you'll hear that people have, so to speak, misconducted themselves by fielding information or providing details that are not correct or signatures that are falsified and all of that. I'm wondering what the law, maybe we should trigger to ensure that people don't do this, because if they are able to sneak through, then it also creates some constitutional situation. Imagine someone presents, so to speak, and I'm not saying that is the case, fraudulent documentation, and the person is then elected president. Can you retrospectively go back and say, this is invalid because there were problems with even your filing and all of it? Do you get what I mean?
Yes, I do.
It's pretty complicated. And
I do.
Even where we say some of these things have happened, and I'm not saying, but people, there's no action. And I'm wondering whether we should look at it from the criminal aspect of things, unless it is a mistake that maybe is not egregious enough. What's your take?
Yes, I think I agree with you. I'll start my conversation from that point. The sanction regime attached to these things is what is not working. We don't see it working. And you and I know in podcast science, that is what falls under institutions.
Right.
I mean, institutions are procedures, processes, rules, and regulations, and the rest of them. So if the institutions are not working well, you find things like this happening. I don't know whether the EC has recommended prosecution, has forwarded the case to appropriate courts for them to look into it and all that. But more often than not, some of the problems are self-inflicted by the EC itself. Why am I saying that? There is a provision in our constitution which says that all political parties after major election must hand in their financial report to the EC. Has the EC been able to enforce that?
But does the system empower the EC? Does it clothe them enough with what it takes to do that? That's another angle to look at.
Yeah, but here you are. They say submit your report. Even if you don't have any power, just receive the report. Those who don't provide the report, what happens to them? They have not been able to enforce that. So today, you and I know that funding of political parties have become a problem. And that is why it is linked to corruption. Because people that we don't know are funding elections and political parties in this country. It is a fact. And look, we don't have concrete evidence to deal with that. You remember when the former Minister for Sports and NDC,
is it
Efri Ankra, was telling us.
Oh, okay.
Efri Ankra.
All right.
Yeah, was telling us how some individuals fund political parties and lead to corruption and all that.
Our hands are tied comments.
Yes, we are quiet about this. But these are the things that undermine what democracy and, for that matter, elections. Who and who are funding what? You see billboards. Have you checked? Huge ones. Who are behind them?
Yeah.
Who fund them? Is the state aware of that? You see what T-shirt given out to a lot of people in the constituency, 10,000, 20. Who is the one providing for that? Is the state interested in this? And so, if we want to fight corruption, these are some of them. Get the institutions to work and work very well, and then get the basics right. When we are able to do all these things, and then put your foot down, damn the consequences. Deal with those who cross the line. And at the end of the day, sanity will prevail. For me, that's the little I can say. I move on to look at Black Star and the effort to beat Angola. And I agree with you about when we get to this stage, you see the lotto permutation and all manner of forecasts. If we know this from the word go, we need to what? Put it as part of our planning and plan well so that we avoid this unnecessary pain that we allow ourselves to go through. It is unnecessary pain. And I agree with you that the GFA and all those stakeholders, they failed this country woefully. We are struggling to get players to come and play. When I was a little boy, I saw football being organized at the district, zonals, national, and whatever. What has happened to it? Where they tap talent. Even the universities, academicals, they have players who were playing very well, and they could draft some of them into the national team. Here you are. We have been struggling over getting a coach that will handle the team at all times. And that has been a problem. In a problem, there is always a way out, except that you don't want to think outside the box. But my society, my country, that is where we are. We don't want to think. We always want to believe in what? All manner of things that do not inure to our benefit. We need to get serious as a society. For me, that is the way to go. 18.7 million Ghanaians are going to vote. Yeah. And in which direction are they going to vote? It's a function of what? Political messaging and campaigning. If you look at campaign that we are experiencing today, I ask myself, are the political parties serious? Look at an important medium of communication today, the internet, the social media. Go there, and what do you find? You know, outdooring of songs, political dance gestures, and the rest of them. Then I ask myself, this is a platform that the large army of our youth are there, listening to all manner of things. Why don't you educate people properly there? And all the parties, I am saying that without any exception, I have not seen any serious campaign going there. What are the messages that they are discussing? What are the issues that are on the social media and the rest of them? You see dance gestures, you see what? Songs, slogans, and all that. Yes, they are part and part of the political campaigns, but the things that drive voters to vote one direction or another are messages. They are messages that stand the test of time. Messages that have something to do with the problems that they find themselves, they are available in their communities. And that is the way to go. So right. I'm not seeing that. Look at the campaign. All right. What are they saying? I listened to CDD on your network, and then Dr. Siedu challenging the political parties, the dominant one, NDC MPP, that bring the budget that you have for the health sector, which you have developed, that is going to be what? Your blueprint relative to our health issues. None of them could give anything. It tells you that they are out there just making promises, but they've not sat down to put the mathematics together and tell us anything. That is why normally when they get power, they are not able to fulfill all the promises, the numerous promises they give us. And at the end of the day, they will blame Russia and Ukraine. They will blame all manner of things, include force majeure and the rest of them.
Right.
We know all these things will come, but at the end of the day, when we are organized, we'll be able to do it. I will continue to mention in Nkrumah's statement that organization decides everything. Are we organized? We are not.
And I would just add snippets very quickly so that we can move on to other stories. The abuse of incumbency advantage when it comes to, elections as well, whether it's NDC or MPP, at least those who have got to be at the helm of affairs. How are we even able to tell that, all the funds that are used in political campaigning are from the coffers of individuals who are campaigning and not from state resources? That's something that is another, needle in a haystack. And once we've abandoned Colts football and it's never taken root like it was during the days of, is it Audu Isaka and the others, then we know. When we were really performing in the 90s and all of that, and even before then of course we're going to face these problems. But on the story of Roman Father, I think we should commend the Electoral Commission. When some things are done, even recently, the meeting, party saying, we've still not got a full complement of the voters register. We discussed the issues, but let's also compliment them because the EC chair says that, listen, we are going to retain Ekuadonko on the ballot and we are going ahead with printing because if we reballot, it will cost the country millions of cedis. And I think that's a rational decision to have been made. So I salute her on that. COP29 world leaders meet in Baku with big names missing. Our very own president was speaking there at COP29. The question is, how are we dealing with our own environmental issues? And I've already raised the issue about Trump judge delaying hush money decision. Interestingly, we're talking about a New York judge, Juan Merchan, and this has become tricky because these are unprecedented circumstances. You have a president-elect with a court case hanging around his neck that could lead to many problems. So it's still not over, and Trump's lawyers have called for the judge to quash the issue to allow for a smooth transition, but the law also is the law, and we'll see how the court rules, because he is president-elect, but what if he is deemed to be compromised in some way? Those are the questions arising from that. I'll be wrapping shortly. Bank of Ghana suspends CBG's foreign exchange trading license, a story we did today. The suspension is for a period of 1 month and is in accordance with Section 11.2 of the Foreign Exchange Act, and that is what happened there. We already have details of that. We also have Baumia launches telehealth app. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Baumia has launched yet another digital health platform to help improve access to quality healthcare in the country. Known as telehealth health services, the platform, which is set to redefine the contours of healthcare delivery, is aimed at bringing medical consultations into the homes and hands of Ghanaians, as every government health facility across the nation will be connected to the service. I believe it was the president who at one point referred to his vice as e-Baumia, and I think at this point we are seeing a lot of, e-stuff. So it was my credit score, and now it is the telehealth app. I think every few days or every week we get a new app. What are your thoughts, Doc?
I'll start with abuse of incumbency. It is a problem that has bedeviled this country for a very long time. And we as society, we are not ready to fix it. So I'm afraid, Ben, you and I will live in this pain for a very long time, because this is a problem that lingers on for a very long time. We are not ready. In other jurisdictions, if you are going for campaign, you are not supposed to drive the state car there. You go and fund your own activity, because the logic behind this thing is that it doesn't make sense. I am competing with you. I am paying you through taxes, and then that, you get additional support through this office that you are occupying to campaign against me using my own tax. It doesn't make sense. But our people have found a clever way of what? Abusing incumbency. They will line up their development projects and then commission them during campaign. They will go there in the name of going to commission a project, and then after that, they campaign. So you are not able to separate these things and all that. Who are you deceiving?
Right.
What we are saying that when you do that, and there's a turn of another party to do that, you don't complain. But here you are. All these things are the evils that rear their ugly heads in our society. And if we want to save this democracy and strengthen its frontiers, we need to deal with them head on. I'll look at the Trump and cases against him. Very interesting. Yes, I was talking to a lawyer to find out what will happen. He said, well, maybe they will drop all those cases and all that. But America and what it is, I am looking forward to see what will happen after January, when the president is sworn in and all that. What will happen when you have a number of cases around your neck and you are the commander-in-chief of the country, armed forces, you are the head of state and all that, and prosecution, you have an attorney general, who prosecute on behalf of the state, who is a government appointee and all that. It's going to be interesting.
Right.
But let's see. I think these are the ones. The Bank of Ghana and CBG have very little knowledge, so I'll leave that one to the economists to deal with that.
I'm not getting into the story, but I just want to hail one of our own, Mercury Quay. The story is here on page 15. Mercury Quay hailed for successful DJ Awards. Founder and executive director of Guinness Ghana DJ Awards, Mercury Quay has been hailed for his exceptional production at the just-ended 12th edition of the Ghana DJ Awards held last Saturday. It started on time, had performances from incredible Ziggy, Keche, Edem, among others. And he's one of our own, and he's doing great things. So, Mercury Quay, we salute you. And that's how I conclude with the Daily Guide newspaper. Sweetie?
Yes, we have to wrap up, but I want to leave these three headlines because it leaves a lot to ponder on. It says, Ghana is sixth most attractive investment destination in Africa, according to a report. And a 2024 Rand Merchant Bank Where to Invest in Africa report has revealed that Ghana is ranked sixth in Africa as the most attractive investment country. And the report said that Ghana represents a substantial market and ranks favorably on corruption, while topping the list on import concentration. I think this gives us a lot to think about. Two more headlines. People are paying 4 million Ghana cedis or trading apartments for kidneys amid dialysis crisis, says the renal patient president. And an issue anywhere is an issue everywhere. The National Media Commission stresses the need for peace in Boko. And I think the story talks about how how they're calling on media personnel, journalists everywhere to help to, to be circumspect in our reportage in terms of what's happening in Boko and its environment. That's it for the news review this morning. Thank you so much, Dr. Kwame Ansah-Asante, for joining us. You want to stay for sports coming up next on the AM show.